Hi there, Cactus the Butcher here. By the way, check out my t-shirt, I think it's pretty dope. Leave a comment of what you think about it, will ya? So as we grow stronger as the channel, the rest of the world is facing some historical events that have really shown what our system is really made of. And if we're being honest, well, there ain't much of a good news. The United States is collapsing, which isn't a very good sign for the rest of the world. You see, when the world's military and economy giant is falling down, it will eventually take many others along. During this historical era of globalization and instant communications, we're all connected through different kinds of relations. Take the Ukrainian conflict for example. Russians and Ukrainians have a common history and there are relatives on both sides of the conflict, which leaves the question for war crimes open. Like, would you commit a war crime against your own grandma? By the way, hit that like button if you love your grandma. But today we will talk more about financial relations of US and the rest of the world, since this is the most important issue for American people like myself, Europeans, and probably the rest of the world. In a recent Fox News broadcast, Tucker Carlson made a good point.
The world's central banks stockpiled US dollars, far more than any other currency. Now, most Americans may not have known that, or they did, but it doesn't matter whether they knew it. It was very good for everyone who lives here. Because there were so many US dollars in circulation outside of the country, the cost of borrowing money inside the country remained artificially low. And that's one of the reasons that in this country, America, middle-class people could buy their own homes. The US government, meanwhile, was able to run up astronomical debts without many obvious consequences. Now, from time to time, the Congress would debate something called the debt ceiling, but it was abstract. For most people, the entire topic didn't seem very relevant to their lives because for most of that time, it really wasn't. America printed the US dollar, we controlled the global reserve currency, and that meant that for us, money was cheap. We had privileges that nobody else in the world had. It's been very nice, but what would happen if it ended?
Now, there was this part, and this one as well.
E.J. Antoni and Peter St. Onge wrote an incisive piece in the Daily Caller last week that explains part of why this happened. Quote, "A critical feature of a reserve currency is its apolitical nature, which Biden is now gutting. After both parties in Washington destroyed the dollar's stability with inflation, now the Biden administration has chosen to wield the dollar as a weapon. Together, these two factors send a message to foreigners, which is they should get out while they still can. In response to Russia's war with the Ukraine, the U.S. froze the dollar reserves of Russia's central bank. To be clear, these were not American assets. These were dollars owned by the Russian central bank and the Russian people. The seizure was intended to cause bank runs and collapse Russia's credit system. It didn't work. Instead, it exposed the Biden administration's willingness to violate the trillions of dollars that foreigners rightfully own. The danger of this precedent is difficult to overstate," end quote.
He said that some Europeans have started to dump the US dollar because the US dollar was no longer a reliable store of value. It became a political weapon that could be wielded at will against anyone who held it. Printing money only devalues those money, and the US has been doing it for quite some time. After this sudden occasion, the US dollar will lose its value even more. There's too many of it. After imposed sanctions on Russia, the world's power shifted. And it may be funny, but it shifted in favor of Russia. This country has enormous amount of resources and it's willing to trade and build up those strong relationships with other countries. These policies have driven Russia, China, India, Turkey and other countries to accelerate their flight from the US dollar. Think about it, China and Russia have already agreed to trade using Chinese currency yens. The US dollar is now becoming useless. Now remember when Trump said he wouldn't allow Ukrainian conflict to happen in the first place.
We are going to finish what we started. We're going to complete the mission. We're going to see this battle through to ultimate victory. We're going to make America great again. I will prevent, and very easily, World War III, very easily. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. And it will take me no longer than one day.
Well, that's just him talking. US policy has always been a warmongering one. And if there's profit, well, it doesn't matter how many lives it would cost. Even if it's the lives of American soldiers. Today, it's the lives of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians, Russian soldiers and, believe it or not, Europeans. As I mentioned earlier, those sanctions imposed on Russia have more impact on US and Europe. That's a fact. Now, Tucker Carlson said that the Biden administration may want our economy to go down, but that's just suicide. Now, we think that Washington is simply used to be the global strongest power in every way, so full of itself that they've completely forgot the fact that there are other strong countries out there that could plot against US strong position and secure themselves economically. It appears that it all went well for them. I'm talking about China, Russia, and some ex-Soviet countries. America used to dictating their will to others. Well, look where it got us. There will be more of such scenes, I'm afraid. If the government won't stop acting like they own this world, they would continue digging ourselves a grave. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell just to stay tuned and stay safe. See you on our next episode. We will dig deeper into what might happen next to our political world.